So, when you think about Jeffrey Epstein, your mind probably goes to his properties in New York or Florida, right? But there was another place, a far more sinister and isolated location that was central to his whole criminal operation, Zorro Ranch, way out in New Mexico. And that's the story we're diving into today. The story of that ranch and the decades-long, often denied, fight for justice. And that right there, that's the voice of Rachel Benavidez, a survivor of what happened at Zorro Ranch. Her words really set the stage for what this is all about. It's not just about the past. It's about a renewed, fierce fight for the truth, even after all this time. So yeah, this isn't just about looking back at some old, closed case. This is an active story. It's about a survivor's relentless call for justice and the systems that for more than 2 decades just failed to listen. Okay, so to really get what happened, you have to understand the place itself. Zorro Ranch. On the surface, it was this beautiful, sprawling landscape. But that beauty was just a facade, hiding a really, really dark reality. I mean, the key thing to understand about Zorro Ranch is just how incredibly isolated it was. We're talking about a massive, gated compound, literally miles from the nearest neighbor, just surrounded by this vast, empty grassland. It wasn't just a house. It was a weapon, a tool specifically designed to trap and control people, putting them far, far away from any possible help. And the stories that have come out of that isolated place, they are absolutely horrific. At least 10 women and young girls have come forward. They talk about being lured there with these false promises, help with money or their careers, only to be trapped in this pattern of abuse. We're talking about groping, being forced into nude massages, and ultimately rape. But to really grasp the true human cost of all this, we can't just talk in general terms. We need to focus on one incredibly personal story, the 2-year ordeal of Rachel Benavidez. See, she wasn't some celebrity or a well-connected socialite. Back in 1999, Rachel was just 22 years old. She was just starting her career as a licensed massage therapist, trying to find work. She was first hired to give massages to Ghislaine Maxwell, and that's how she ended up in Epstein's orbit. And this quote, this just shows you the level of psychological manipulation that was going on. She would see other young women at the ranch, but she just assumed they were models. So in her mind, there was no way what was happening to her was happening to them. It made the abuse feel so deeply personal, and it completely isolated her, piling on this sense of shame that kept her silent. And over a 2-year period, what started out as just a job descended into a total nightmare. Rachel says Epstein's requests became more and more aggressively sexual until, she says, he ultimately raped her. This horrifying abuse only stopped when she refused to sign a non-disclosure agreement. The aftermath for her was just devastating. Like so many survivors, she was just haunted by shame, by fear, and by this crushing self-blame. For almost 2 decades, she kept what happened to her a secret. Okay, so now let's pull back from Rachel's personal story for a moment and look at the bigger picture. Why did nothing happen for so long? I mean, this is where you start to see this infuriating pattern of systemic failures and just decades of missed opportunities by law enforcement. I mean, this timeline is just staggering when you look at it. Epstein buys the ranch way back in '93. Fast forward to 2008, his infamous sweetheart plea deal in Florida completely shuts down a wider federal investigation that included New Mexico. Then, in 2019, New Mexico's Attorney General finally opens a probe, only to be asked to stand down by federal prosecutors in New York. It wasn't until this year, that a real state-level investigation finally got off the ground. And it's not just us saying it. Even the state's former top cop, the Attorney General Hector Balderas, he straight up acknowledges the failure. He calls the whole situation a black eye in the justice system, and he points to things like poor information sharing between different agencies as a key reason nothing ever got done. But that was the past, and right now, things are finally starting to change. There is a brand new push for truth happening in New Mexico, and it's offering a real glimmer of hope for accountability. You can really see the shift in approach right here. Where the former AG talked about what went wrong, the current Attorney General, Raul Torres, is making a very firm commitment to move forward. He's promising to get to the bottom of what happened, and this is so crucial, to center the voices of victims in the whole process. And look, these aren't just empty words. We're talking about concrete actions being taken right now. There's a new criminal case. The state legislature has created a truth commission. And get this. For the very first time, law enforcement actually searched Zorro Ranch this past March, and they're actively fighting to get the full, unredacted Epstein files from the federal government. So, What's the ultimate goal here? I mean, with Epstein dead and Ghislaine Maxwell in prison, this fight has become about something so much bigger than just one man. It's about the entire network, the whole system that allowed this to happen for so long. And that brings us right back to the powerful words of Rachel Benavidez. Her mission, her goal is crystal clear. She knows there were co-conspirators. She believes there are people out there who were involved and knew exactly what was going on. And her hope, which is now really the goal of this entire new investigation, is to find those people and finally bring them to justice. And all of this leaves us with a really profound question. In a case like this, where the main perpetrators are either dead or in prison, what does true justice actually look like? Is it about uncovering every single secret? Is it holding every last enabler accountable? Or is it perhaps about, finally, after all these years, ensuring that the voices of the survivors are not only heard, but truly believed and put at the very center of the process?